Hello and welcome. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Patrick and I'm the head of cybersecurity here in Orange Business. Today we have a great webinar ahead of us, which I hope you all enjoy. But first, I would like to talk some numbers. According to IBM's 2023 report, Cost of a Data Breach, on a global scale, the average total cost of a data breach was $4.45 million. The cost difference between those that were able to identify it before 200 days was $1.02 million. The effect of having security services that can detect and contain breaches has a huge impact financially, such as the one SIEM Service that we offer here in Orange Business, saving up to $1.76 million. And having a good security incident response with good incident response plans and processes will also have a cost-effective saving of $1.49 million. Only 1 in 3 breaches are identified by an organization's own security team, and this is where our SIEM Service and Security Operations Center come in, which Kim will talk to you more about soon. I'll just give the word to Kim Håvard to tell us more about the SIEM Service that we offer here in Orange Business.
Thanks, Patrick. Short background about me. I'm a senior cybersecurity engineer here at Orange. I'm a certified ethical hacker and have certification in computer forensics by RITX. So let's get started. Leverage your data with SIEM. Centralized logging is key. Adversaries will try to hide their track. Don't trust a compromised system. Centralized logging is essential for finding malicious activities, establishing timeline of breaches, ensuring safe time frame to restore. Traditional centralized logging solutions have been flat files, which are tedious to work with, and they are not automated. And logs not leveraged are logs wasted, automated with SIEM. But first, we're going to briefly talk about a unified kill chain, or adversary tactics. This consists of 3 main pillars: initial foothold, network propagation, and objectives on tasks. By detecting early, this translates into reduced costs and less work to get back online. Our architectural design, we have our operating systems like Kubernetes, Windows, and Linux, which all have Elastic agents installed, which has the benefit of having integrations like our endpoint protection. This is all centralized and managed through the user interface of Kibana. The same interface you query and get alerts from. It's also the same place that executes our detection rules towards the Elastic server. Optionally, we can offer long-term storage using Object Store. SIEM logs. Both Linux and Windows, we cover security logs, which logs the potential of user creation. Audit logs covers the potential misuse of things like sudo. Application logs are usually where we find the initial foothold, like in Nginx, where you can find reverse payloads with reverse shells. And Windows specifics, like PowerShell. Attackers love to use PowerShell as their payload once they have gained the initial foothold, to avoid being detected by traditional antivirus systems. SIEM endpoint protection. Unlike traditional antivirus solutions, which uses signature-based detection method, the endpoint protection uses behavioral-based detection methods, as well as the signature-based detection methods. Our solution also gathers additional system events, which occurs on the operating system, like processes, network, and file events. So whenever a file is created, an event will appear which has the MD5 sum, SHA-1, SHA-50, SHA-256, and SHA-512 hash attached to the event. And in specific operating systems, it can give you more insight. So like Windows has an event created whenever the registry updates. As well as covering all of this, it also has ransomware protection on Windows. SIEM observability. So all of these system events that the endpoint protection creates into our SIEM is also viewable on the dashboards that is within the security tab. And those dashboards are specific for host information, user information, and network information, where you can see the different events in detail. Over to a demo. So here we can see Elastic. We are navigating towards the Explore tab, and we are selecting the network dashboard, letting it load. And we can see on a map where our traffic has been either sent to or received from the host. So we can see that we have accessed GitHub in Germany. So the full ASN information is also applied to this event, which is very useful. If you see an attack, you can also send an abuse message to the service provider. And then the rest of the flow, we can also check out the HTTP request. Since this server is running a web server, we can see a GET request to the root path for the host by localhost, and we will get to that later. And there's 4 requests. So on events, we can see the breakdown of connection attempts. Over to SIEM detection rules. So this is the bread and butter of the SIEM. It's basically what tells us if a system has a potential compromise or a potential breach or something malicious happened. All of our SIEM rules are categorized by the kill chain that we saw in the earlier stages of the presentation, as well as it has MITRE ATT&CK links to provide detailed information about the tactic used by the adversary, as well as detailed information about how to mitigate against the tactics or detect. And alerting is configured per rule, so you can have your own custom rule, which we also do cover. And an example of the rule is the one rule below, where you can see that we have an event category as file, so it's a file creation or change. In this case, it's either creation or change of the file etc hosts. And it should not trigger if the process name is either dockerd, rootlesskit, podman, or cryo, or the event category is process, so meaning we start an application. And if the application name is either nano, vim, or emacs, and so on, and the arguments is the file in question, then we should alert. But not if the process name is DH client script. So now onwards for a brief demo for the detection rules and how they look. So again, we navigate away towards security, and we pick the rules. We go into detection rules, where you can see that we have already searched for potential reverse, but here you can also see all of the tags or how they're classified or categorized, I mean. So here we can see brief description of what the detection rule does, who the author is, the severity, and also references on what the detection rules is based on, as well as the MITRE ATT&CK links for both the main category, which is execution, as well as the more specific technique, which is command and script interpreter, I mean. Here we can see detection and mitigation, and also a brief which APT groups have used it. On the right, you could see the detection rules and the fields required, as well as how often the detection rule run and the alert action, as well as the alarms if we have exceptions. And then if we edit the detection rules, we can configure an alarm. So we can use the already predefined ones. Now let's look at the response capabilities. So our alerting dashboard provides us with detailed information, as well as it has a function to analyze the event. This function is only available if you are using the endpoint protection. Exceptions can also be made through the alerting dashboard. This allows you to filter out the false positives that might occur in your system. Response console. This is an interactive console which allows you to isolate hosts, list processes, and suspend processes, and even kill them. And also, it offers a few other things to ensure that you are collecting evidence. All of the commands that are issued through the response console is also audited and is available for the administrator of the system to have a look into. So let's see a brief demo about the security information and event management. So we have configured a rather small system which has a vulnerable application. And let's see if we can figure out what has happened. So here we can see the alert dashboard with 180 alerts. So something has been happening. We are now trying to filter or find the rule to filter upon, which gives us the best insight. And that is a potential reverse shell activity. So we can see that we have found it. We're now going to analyze the event to figure out the initial foothold, find the process ID, and see how the attack flow is. So here we can see a Flask application, which has 2 sets of shell processes running beneath it. It shouldn't look like this. And we can also see that one of the shell processes is actually executing a reverse shell. And clicking on the reverse interactive shell, we can figure out which IP address it has, and also the ASN information. Zooming out, we can actually see that we have analyzed more than just one process. We have also analyzed what has happened in the shell. So observability, we can see the payload used because this was a GET request. So now we know what has happened to our host. So this will show you how we can respond to kill off the 2 interactive shells and also isolate the host and collect evidence for further investigation. So here we have the isolate host, but we're going to use the response console. Here we can type help to see the options that we have. All of these can be filtered out. We're listing out the processes, although we already got the process ID from the 2 from the analyze event. So we're just going to use them to kill off the interactive shell first, and then the reverse shell afterwards. So we're killing the interactive shell, which the adversary is using to execute commands. And then we're killing the shell or reverse shell that is used to spin up the interactive shell and passes through a network socket. After that, we're going to isolate the host until the issue is fixed. And then we are going to release the hosts until when the issue is fixed. Before that, we're actually going to grab hold of the evidence for further investigation. So this will actually go out, fetch the file on the remote host, and then bring us a zip file with a password-protected zip file. Now we can isolate the host. And when isolation is done, no one except Elastic can actually communicate it unless that is added to the exception list. And then we have fixed the issue. We can now release the host, restoring all network connectivity. So, summary of the demo. So what did we find? During our investigation, we saw that 180 alarms was triggered in the dashboard. We analyzed the event and found that the Flask application had one interactive shell and one reverse shell. We grabbed the process ID of both of them. We also saw that lim piece was executed, which is a common privilege escalation tool. And also from the application log or Nginx log, we found that the queue parameter on the default route was vulnerable. And from the looks of the payload, we can actually establish that it was a server-side rendering injection, which allowed the reverse shell to happen. On the response, we then killed off the interactive shell and the reverse shell, collected the evidence, isolated the host, released the host when the application was fixed. Over to you, Patrick.
Thank you so much for joining us all the way. I hope you had a good time. And I hope you have a good day. Thank you.
Orange Business.